Oh, but all right. Recording is in progress. We made it. So
Awesome.
Danny's here live. Thank you so much for being here. And I know a lot of people like to watch these or listen after they've happened. So if you're listening to the replay, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
We were
My
just
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. We were just catching up with Danny, and she asked us about the painting that we have behind us. She asked if either one of us painted it, and it's actually from we had an outline for tonight, and then kind of today decided to make the introduction talking about this particular piece. So we wanted to talk about vision, and vision is one of our collective values as people, through our business, through our work. And this painting in particular, this print, is important with regards to vision. And it's from IKEA. It was like, I think $7.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's important because we bought it in November, and we've been on a tight budget, and then I saw this and I was like, I have to have that. Like, I really have to have that. And we're like, okay, well, we're getting ready to move full time into a van and put our stuff into storage. So
let's buy art.
Yeah. Do I need to buy a cheetah print? And
I think it's a leopard. By the way.
I'm gonna call it cheetah because that's what I want it to be.
Okay, all right. Vision, right?
But I see it, yeah. Vision. So I see a cheetah.
Okay.
And anyways, I wanted to buy this because a part of our vision is, and the work that we do is hosting retreats and gatherings. And one of our big dreams and visions is to have a retreat space and to have our own space to gather with people, to share with people. And so when I saw this, I was like, let's buy this for our first retreat space. Like I have this vision. We have this kind of joint vision on what we want it to feel like, what we want people to experience in it. And this like piece, the colors, everything about it. There's a moon. Our van is named Luna. There's a butterfly right there looking at the leopard cheetah. And is that better?
The big cat.
The big cat. Yeah. Anyways, there's a butterfly, and I've been feeling in this season of like emerging, and after the last couple of years of kind of feeling like I've been in a cocoon, I'm like coming out into the world as this like new person with this vision. And so we bought this, and then on December 11th, we went to a coffee shop in a town that we love called New Harmony, Indiana. It's like 45 minutes away from where we were born and raised. We were having coffee, one of our favorite coffee shops, to have a discussion about where to move our things and storage, what we were going to do about an address. We had research, and so we were just like, this was decision day. And throughout that visit, which was spontaneous, we ended up meeting somebody who lives in town, and she was carrying the Course in Miracles, if you're familiar with the Course. And I figured you would be, Danny. And we were kind of talking about our vision, and we were like, we'd love to have a place in New Harmony one day. And she was like, well, there's this place for sale down the street. And 5 hours later, we had signed a purchase agreement. And then just yesterday, we closed on the house on 01/11 at 11 a.m. And now that piece of art is hanging up in our first space.
Yeah. We're sitting in there right now, actually. Yeah.
On 1/11 at 11:01.
Yeah. And originally it was supposed to be for Friday the 13th, tomorrow. And we were like, okay, that's fine. We're not super superstitious, or I'm not anyways, I guess, a little bit. But then they asked if we'd be willing to do a 1/11 at 11. And I'm like, yep, sure am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so this is like, I don't know, it was also, I think, appropriate that we had said we were going to do this conversation on vision. And then like all of these things have happened since then. And we even a year ago, we had COVID, we were quarantining, and during the time that we felt okay, some of it we did not feel okay, But during the other time, we created, used that time to create a business plan for this vision. And we had, it was like a 50-page business plan on buying a property and creating this like system of tiny homes. And we wanted to start in New Harmony. And at the end of the business plan, we had this like section with like dates and like kind of not deadlines, but like goals for when we wanted to like have things launched. And in January 2023, we said we wanted to launch our first Airbnb rental. And so that like that's happening. And we had like
that's the space that's the space you just purchased yesterday is
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know, it's pretty amazing kind of like how it all came together, because in so many ways, like when we focused on the bigger picture of what we're doing and didn't get hung up in the details about exactly how it was going to happen and focused on other things, it sort of opened up this possibility for this to come in a way that we didn't expect. So it's kind of like what we wanted in our broader vision, but not the way that we had originally planned it. But because we kept our eyes on the bigger picture, which we'll talk about a little bit tonight, and you know, and focused on service and focused on our vision, right, and not these got hung up in these little details, we were able to like manifest this space and other opportunities, you know, that have come up for us as well, to kind of realize this vision of living in multiple places, you know, and moving between them in advance. So this is the first step in that. Yeah.
And I know we had talked about how tonight we were going to start discussing and creating vision boards. And like for me, buying this piece from IKEA, when it felt right, it was also in a way like creating this like life vision board of sorts. And like in my mind, being able to curate different physical things that we could have in this space and starting to get those. Because really everything I've been buying the last few years, I've bought with the intention of sharing it in some way, and with the intention of it like going together as well. And so it's been like, and I'm kind of just thinking through this now as I'm like talking about it. It's like having that bigger vision and then like having the things and seeing it and curating it has helped, I think, bring it to life too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And even kind of in a real meta way, just really quickly, like we were talking about, like my background as a designer, both interior and branding and graphic design. But one of the kind of a really great representation of vision is that this image right here really captures the mood and the colors and the feel that we want to create in this space, ultimately, eventually. And that's another kind of key aspect to vision, and not kind of getting too hung up in the details, is that the colors and the mood and the way this feels, we can take this, right? We're not going to like, you know, probably not have a giant, you know, big cat in the room, and we're not going to have like butterflies flying around in here, but we can take these colors, we can take this feel, we can take these things and bring it alive in this space and be inspired by it, you know, apply it to our vision, you know what I mean? And then it can come to fruition in this space in a way that you know, does what we want it to do and says what we want it to say. Yeah.
Now, will you postpone running off in the van again, because now you're going to be fixing this so you can get it rented?
Yes and no. We're planning to be here for a couple of months to like ground in this space and move the rest of our things that we were going to put into storage into here and get the space up and running, to be able to share with people. And we also have, we're hosting a retreat in New Harmony in the first or the second weekend of February, which we're really excited about. And the venue is only like 2 blocks away from here. But we're actually going to be splitting our time between here and North Carolina. So we're actually going to be working on site as hosts part-time throughout the year for Indigo in Old Fort, which is where we hosted our first retreat last year. So there we'll be living in the van, and then whenever we come back to this area, to Indiana, we'll plan to be living in the van unless the space here isn't rented, and then we'll stay inside like it's an Airbnb. And
yeah, and to kind of bring that back around into the theme of this evening vision as well, that manifested in a very similar indirect way, right? Like we visited North Carolina. We did our first personal retreat there and fell in love with the Asheville area, and it's someplace that we've always loved and felt at home. But especially at this point in our lives, it wasn't something that we felt like we could invest in. You know, like Asheville is a very in-demand place. It's very, very expensive, and we looked there, you know, like even before we got the van, you know, could we live there? How could we make this happen? And it just wasn't the right time at that point. And instead of trying to force that or trying to figure out how to do it, we focused again on what we do. We created a retreat, you know, for others, and we invested all of our time and resources like into that retreat, living big, doing the things that we need to do to bring ourselves alive so we can bring other people alive. And we had a very successful, you know, retreat there. And in the wake of that retreat, this opportunity emerged, right? To actually go there and be there. And so this sort of, we were describing this network, this business plan of this network of tiny homes around the country to kind of start. It's sort of like materialized in a much different way than we ever could have expected, but in just the way that we needed, in just the way that was right for us, by creating that space, doing what we do, serving others, and creating these retreats, right? We allowed, like, we kept our vision on the bigger picture, focused on these little things, and allowed these things to come when they were ready. And they actually ended up ultimately happening on our original calendar, which we didn't know or exactly understand that that was going to happen, right? So yeah, that's kind of a big, you know, part of vision and how we see vision, right? Yeah, because our brand, in our brand guide, we actually, I've written down a few notes here in our brand guide, our vision statement, and we work with people to create vision statements. You know, that's actually part of our guided discovery process. And we talk to people in our True North work about creating a vision statement. What is your vision? And that vision is, we ask people to think about a picture of their future as a result of their mission. Like, these are the things you want to do, but your vision statement kind of keeps you on that broader path, you know, keeps you on that bigger service. It's your impact. That's kind of how we make it, you know, bring it down to just the two letters is, what is your impact? And for us, you know, we think about vision. We wrote this in our brand guide, that vision is love in practice. And I even kind of like crossed that out and thought about it. The vision is actually gives direct, our two values are love and vision, right? So vision gives direction to love. Like, you know, we want to serve, we want to love, we want to bring love into the world and transform people through that. And our vision is what gives direction to that. So like when we're creating vision boards, you know, and thinking about vision and going inward and things like that, like that's what you want to be thinking about, like these specific images, but keeping also at the same time, you know, this bigger picture, this, how do you want to serve, what its legacy, its impact, it's all those things. So, you know, I've even, I think I wrote down here, yeah, like elementals, our vision statement for elementals is living in full expression together, right? So that's how we sort of in some ways manifested these spaces for us, and these things to do is focusing on that, creating those spaces through retreats. That was the place that allowed that to come in. Yeah. Yeah.
How long did you sit down and contemplate to come up with what your vision statement was?
That's a beautiful question.
Really beautiful question.
I don't know if I have a direct answer. What I remember is that it was a process. And I'd say that over the course of like several weeks, once we like sat down, because we each did our own writing individually and then would have a conversation about it, since it was something that we wanted to represent both of us, since it was important, landing on something that aligned with us both with language and energy was important. So I think that's what I remember.
Well, and I remember it that way too. And I would even say more specifically by actually participating in our own work. So, you know, like we have a process called guided discovery. We're not necessarily here tonight to talk about guided discovery. However, in that guided discovery process, it's all about going inward. It's all about we have 4 workbooks that take you through determining your values, setting your true north, creating
which is mission and vision.
Yeah, mission and vision and those kind of things. And then also we do boundaries work and intentions, rituals, and things like that. So we actually went through our own process, right? And it just, we're on a constant work of self-discovery, going deeper within ourselves and defining those things and writing about them and bringing them to the surface. So that's really the process, is actually participating in developing our own process. Yeah. So that we can share it with others. That's how all of our work has come to the forefront, is through our own research and our own trial and error in our own lives, and bringing that it's an amalgamation and an ongoing alchemy, right, of just like all these things of trial and error and research and conversations and practice and bringing people together and learning, and it's just constantly evolving. Yeah.
So it sounds like this course that you're offering, you called it the North Star.
True North is one of our workbooks within the guided discovery process. It's the second, it's the second part. And that's where the vision is really kind of like brought to words, right?
And that's actually the guided discovery process. We've done with several clients and have clients where it's a coaching process,
right?
But we are in the works of creating an actual course for people to do self-guided too. So we're really excited about that. Just because we want to make it more accessible for people, and we know it's sometimes hard to do in a coaching process because they're big questions and it's a lot of work, and sometimes you need 6 weeks for one question.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so like going through the whole process in 6 weeks can sometimes be a lot, which we understand. And so, yeah. And I even, oh, sorry, go ahead, Danny.
No, I just said, wow. The fact that I agree with you. I think that some answers come quicker than others. And you said there were 4 different workbooks. I think that is, it's very tenuous, and, and really it takes some thought process and time, dedicated time, just like if you were taking a course at a college.
Right. Yeah. And that's why we call it guided, right? Because like we really work as guides, in that process by creating these workbooks, so you have something, if you're doing it if you're sort of self-guiding it, we're still creating that foundation, that framework that gets you through a process of self-discovery and to a language, that allows you to bring the vision to life, right? So, I mean, in its essence, really, I mean, like, vision could be a part of all of it. Really, it's all a part of, like, because you have to, you have to see yourself, right, first, right, and then once you sort of like go through that process of seeing yourself and learning how to do that, you're sort of visualizing yourself. You're visualizing yourself in the world. You're visualizing yourself in action. You're creating those things. So, vision is just such a huge part of propelling, propelling yourself through life. And that's why the grounding work is so important, and the self-discovery work is so important, because if you don't do that work, if you have this strong desire and vision, right, that's not based on who you are, the truth of who you are, how you want to come alive in the world, what's going to bring you joy and fulfillment and abundance, you can spend a lot of time going down the wrong roads. Not the wrong road for you. What doesn't bring you alive, what doesn't bring you joy, what doesn't like come from your core, right? So it's very important that we get to the heart, build from the ground up, like build from the inside out, right? So when you do start verbalizing that vision and creating that direction, that we talk about, vision is like giving your values direction, giving this is where we're going, this is where we're being propelled. You're going in that direction that serves you, that's right for you, that's, that brings you alive. right? So yeah, it is hard work and it's difficult work, but it's work that's best done, you know, in community, too, right? We found that to be the case, right? See yourself reflected. That's another form of vision, is seeing yourself reflected off of others or in others, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the vision boarding and the things that we're talking about doing tonight. Oh, and just the kind of like, maybe I'm reading a beautiful book in preparation for our retreat in New Harmony on love, and it's Bell Hooks. I don't know if you've ever read Bell Hooks, but all about love. And she, uh, the subtitle is New Visions, right? New Visions about love. And there's a really amazing quote in here about vision. And she says a vision articulates a future that someone deeply wants and does it so clearly and compellingly that summons up the energy, agreement, sympathy, political will, creativity, resources, or whatever to make this vision happen. I mean, that's a beautiful quote, a beautiful definition of vision. It's also like manifestation, right? Right. Like it's also like a definition of manifestation, and how vision and manifestation are tied together.
And that was something else that I wanted to talk about. And Danny, I wanted to ask you about this, and then anyone else who's listening after tonight, like a question for them, is if you have a daily visioning practice, or what that maybe means to you. Because I know for me, the last several months, I've been focusing on how I want to feel. And so instead of focusing necessarily on outcomes, like I want to have a house, or I want to have or I don't know, any kind of tangible outcome. Instead of saying like those are the things that I want to have or that I want to get, I think about how I want to feel if those things were already happening. And I even have like a narrative that I wrote down, like this paragraph that kind of describes who that person is, like what she feels like going out into the world. And I read that every day. And that, I think that is what helps manifest that, because I'm attracting what I want to feel, because I already believe that I feel that way. And it doesn't work all the time, but like that's the practice. So I didn't know, Danny, do you have any kind of like visioning practice, and what does that look like?
Yes.
Mind to share?
So I do a visioning practice, and I actually write, and I've been writing. I wrote daily when I was really intending something big. And Matt, you hit on it through your New Vision book, which is unapologetically so clear, and you're so concise. You're not worried about the how, but you're worried about you're not worried, but like you don't think about the how because it doesn't matter how you're going to get there, but you are saying, this is the end result.
Yeah.
This is what I want. I act as if it already is. So my first step was, I did this with my house, and I just did this with the job. Both times, big things, right? So I took Mel Robbins. She wrote this book called The High Five Habit, right?
Yeah.
And that book is fantastic on many different levels, especially with the self-love, and she's got the high five incorporated. But what the system that really got me in that book was the RAS, which is the reticular activation system, which is part of the brain. And she basically tells you, like, with the RAS, like, to get clear on how you want your year to look, right? How do you want it to feel? What do you want to create? Act as if it already is given. You've given yourself permission to write everything, every dream, small. What do you want to feel? What do you want to buy? What do you want to do? Without apology. And then you close your eyes and you visualize it, right? So the visualization piece is important. So I took her system, but then I also took part of what my therapist has given me as great golden nuggets and action exercises. I'll call it play work.
Yeah, nice.
That's good.
Language that she uses, and I formulated, a writing exercise. So the house was here, and that was more like a paragraph, right? In 2022, I am experiencing opulent health. My body physically feels terrific, right? This is if it already is, right? I say the right home is here, the right job is here, right? So I tell a story and I weave that in. And it was everything to, you know, we are experiencing living in a townhome, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
These
Yeah.
specific things.
Hmm.
And I just kept writing and writing and writing. And we just kept looking at homes and looking. 7 weeks we were looking at homes, and this home wasn't even available. I called the woman back. She lost her first person, and I happened to call 2 weeks later, and got and she lowered her price because I told her that I wasn't gonna, I was like, we need to negotiate a little bit, and here we are. We moved in,
Yeah.
and I say this because this is where the how goes to the side, because I knew the size of the home. I knew I wanted a townhouse. I wanted a fenced in yard. I didn't get one, but I got a partially fenced in yard and a doggy gate, like, but, I got all my bedrooms. It's a brand new construction. No
Yeah.
one has lived here before us, right? So I say the house was literally being built for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
every failed attempt prior to that, and there were some where we were
Yeah.
like, ooh, our house,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It all led to being here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Blessing doesn't always mean, you've received. A
Mhm.
Yeah.
blessing is also in the lesson.
Yeah.
It's twofold. So with the job, the way the whole job unfolded, I hemmed and hawed doing the writing. They would say, "Have you been doing the writing?" And I started out this way. What is it that I want to have in my home? What is it that I want to have in my next house? And I think it's not there, but I just started with like a list. A list. This is how much money I want a boss that loves and respects me. I want staff that's on timely, whatever it was that I was asking for, right, on my specific list. I wanted to be appreciated, right? I wanted perks, like I wanted commission or bonuses, some other financial advancements. I wanted to be able to advance quickly. I also got, just kept getting deep. It was just a quick like hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I took it a step farther off the hit list and saw how many things kind of sounded alike, because
Yeah.
you teach
Right.
yourself in different ways, right? When you're doing
Right.
a dump, and you sort of let it sit. I'd let it sit. Then something would happen, and I'd go, "Oh, I'm going to add that to the list. I want to be able to bring my pet to work, whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, I want to do that," or "I want to work from home 80% of the time." Whatever it is, I just keep adding. Finally, I'm ready. I'm like, "Okay." They keep asking. I sat down, and then it became sentences.
Mm.
And so the sentences are, right? I am experiencing attracting employers who trust me and I trust them. Right? There's the act as if. I am experiencing, right? And that's the key component, because a lot of times you could say the I ams like an affirmation, and the affirmations don't always work. They make you feel better and they make you think, I am, loved, or I am lovable, or, whatever you want to say. But you're saying, I am experiencing. I'm experiencing attracting supervisors and employees that I communicate well with at all times, with ease and grace, understanding and acceptance of my ideas.
Yeah.
Very specific.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the last things that I wrote was, I am experiencing accepting an offer on or before December 22nd. December 22nd, somebody sent me, I didn't accept the position on that date, but somebody contacted me and sent me a private message and said, I have something for you. You need to give me a call.
Yeah.
And as soon as they told me what it was, I just had this knowing that everything was connecting, like you guys in the house.
Yeah.
And literally, I met, that person was retiring, and they said, this would be perfect for you. I met with one person on a Thursday. I met with two people on a Friday, and I got the offer on Friday night.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I interviewed with one company for 3 months.
Wow.
3 months I was in interviews.
Yeah.
Right? So again, if I hadn't had the stalling, right? And I look at that too, and I think you have to think to yourself, when those things are happening, you're always creating your own reality at all times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh,
And
totally.
so I was creating that reality to have the stalling happening, right? Under whatever my mind was that, you know, I was like, oh, when I look at it now, if I had taken that job or it had gone any quicker, I wouldn't have been available for this one. I wouldn't have stuck my little notice up on my LinkedIn page the day that I did and got all the responses that I did and all the places that I've, you know, I wouldn't have gone through the interviews that I went through to know that this company is so fabulous, fabulous compared to all the other ones that were giving this or this, right? And those things, when you're getting a little and you're like, and literally the bells are going off and you're going, this doesn't feel good, but you know, I think I should take it because, you know, you're like talking yourself, you know, because you think like on one hand it would be great. When I got really honest, the company that I interviewed with for so long, they only had 30% of what was written in this book. The company now has 85%. 85%, right? And so that's the thing, if we're honest, right, with this, with the vision, right, is how much are you actually listening to the things that you want as they're showing up, right? And not to be afraid to say no, you know? And that's a big part of it, because if this house came along but it was $250,000 more than you wanted to pay, would it have been an option? No, you would have loved it. You'd be like, oh yeah, this is great, but you know what I'm saying? Or if it was in an area that you're like, you know what, I don't think we'd feel safe renting this to people. It's the price we want it, but it's not, you know, it's not where we want it. Yeah, you know what I mean? And so I think that's where the defining moments happen. When you're writing it down, like you're talking about, Les. Like if you're writing it, reading it, you know, I find that writing it every day, not just reading it, that really hits home. And even if it's not every day, because I'm all about them, you know, like I think consistent enough. If you're doing it, you know, one day and then 2 days later you sit down and then you do it for 2 days in a row and then I mean, yes, daily is always the best, but for the people like me that aren't super consistent, as long as you're at it, I did this for a month and a month later I got a job. That is like,
I think you're right about consistency.
Consistency is huge. And I kept thinking to myself, like, you know, a lot of what we talk about too, I think it require what you're talking about, like, is bold, right? You're making that, especially when you're picking very specific dates, like that is like high level, you know, manifestation. And it requires, I think, a really healthy detachment process, or a detachment like practice, right? A lot of discipline, a lot of work, of inner groundwork. And you know, Danny, we know, you know, like that you do that work. And I think that's like one of those things, you know, like it's a bold move, right? To say, I want to do this. You know, I think about you know, just times in my life where I've like even with something like weight loss, you know, which I think is something that's common to a lot of people. I've lost like over 100 pounds in my life. And if there's times when, if you say like, I want to weigh, you know, 150 pounds, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to do that, you better be sure that's what you want and that's healthy for you and you've done the work. Or you could just say, I want to be healthy. You know what I mean? Like, and Danny, you were saying that earlier, like, you know, going after these, and like Leslie, you were saying, I want to feel this way. Right. And I was most successful, you know, in my health journey, whenever I focused on how I wanted to feel, right? Focused on being healthy, not weighing a certain amount, or focused on, you know, how I wanted to feel, what I wanted to be able to do, how I wanted to be able to serve. That's when it really kind of started happening, that sort of like indirect way. But you made some very bold, you know, moves, but it requires, right, a willingness to let go when it's not serving you, when you've really done the work to know what you want, know what you need, know how that's going to happen. That's like, that's like manifestation and goals right there.
I think that something else you were talking about, and I'll keep this quick because we only have like 10 minutes left.
Yeah,
and we have to talk about vision boards.
Yeah, cool.
But The
Yeah.
one thing that you were saying about like the, kind of weighing out the options and thinking about things, like that's something I've learned with visioning and manifesting is that, when visions are coming to fruition and when I'm thinking about how I want to be or what I want, like it doesn't require that much thinking. It's like a practice of learning to like know. And even with the house, it was something like, I mean, we walked in and we hadn't even seen like gone in every room, and it's an 800 square foot house, so it's not that big. But I'm just like, yeah, this is right. Like I don't need to, if I think about the details, right, like in like very specific ways in this moment, I'm going to think myself out of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, you kind of touched on that too with that yes and no. And so that's something that's really important to recognize, I think, with visioning work, is when you're thinking too much and when that gets in your way.
Yeah, and Danny, you said, I kept thinking a bunch of things that you were saying just kept sparking, and I'm like, there's this like quote that I've read recently that I know like sums this up, and I think you almost even said it, but I looked it up here just a second ago, and I know I've heard it in a couple different places, and I think Viktor Frankl's talked about this in his book, but where it originated from, I believe, was Friedrich Nietzsche, and said that you could the right. I think it's I'll get it wrong if I don't get it exactly right, but it's like, he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how, right? The right why can bear almost any how. And I think that's like, the why is in the heart, the how is in the head. The why is the vision, right? The how is the mission, right? The mission can shift and change and evolve, like we have to be open to the universe delivering those things. We still have to do the work. We still have to try all these things. Like, we all wanted, a job or a certain way of life, or, to be, have a certain health, but like the why is where it starts, in the heart. Right. And then the how comes out, and that's where you can survive it. Because if you really know your why, and you really have done your vision work, and you've done that, you do that visioning and really know it. Right. Then that how becomes easier. It's never easy, but when it can come to you, but it's all through the work, right? And
there's also something to that though, because listen, the why is the biggest driver, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where the emotion piece comes from, and the emotion usually equals pain equals progress, right? I think that depending on the situation, listen, when you're unhealthy, your why is strong because you're like, I want to be healthy, right? Like you're physically ill and you're willing to do whatever it takes, right, to become healthy.
Right.
Maybe not. Maybe some people say, I want to be healthy, but they don't necessarily make the choices to be like, they might be like, I'd love to go gluten-free. I just think it'll be too hard, right? They've already, if they think they can't, they can't. If they think they can, right? And so that's part of it, is like that why, if they're not even in touch with that why. I think that's why your course is so important, because if it can really get somebody to the root of the why, so they can figure out, why do I want to be healthy? What's the point in me being healthy to me? Like, yes, okay, fine. People want to be healthy, but what's it going to do for me if I'm healthy, if I'm not sick anymore, right? Because if you continue to be sick, there's some comfort in being sick.
Yeah, right.
So I feel like the why, and I think when you talk about business, you guys are really great at this, and in putting words and emotion behind your venture, right? This passion that you draw from, which I think, and this has happened to me, where I will sit down with a planner and literally go, well, what's my yearly goal for my side hustle? I write down one thing, but all my action steps every day are not towards that thing. Or it's too generalized. Like if I'm just saying something generalized, like, I want to impact the lives of thousands through my own personal example, that's generalized. But now that's goal setting versus vision, right? So a little bit different. So I've learned that I have to use the SMART method, right? It's got to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound.
Yeah.
That's what Hayes was.
Yep. Yeah. We were literally just talking about this in the mindful music maker with Hayes. Yeah.
Hayes Griffin, we participate, and he was talking about that in his meditation last week, was, you know, setting these SMART goals. And
the actual, yes, and this might be kind of a next mastermind, actually, like after we do the visioning, then we do that. It's like, it's a beautiful like transition into those things. Yeah, that's like fantastic.
So that's the key, is like, look, you can make the vision board, right? Because you want to say, like, ultimately, high level, these are the things that I'm aiming for, right? That's really, I think, what the vision's about.
Yep, exactly. And that's
when you get into the nitty gritty and you're actually ready to execute, like, you can't execute without having this as part of it. It has to become specific. And that's not even the why, or I mean, not even the how. Like, you're not saying, how am I going to get there? No, you're just saying specifically, you know, I want to write a poem, and I want to write a poem, you know, by Friday, right? There's your time bound. And I don't really care what I write the poem about. I just want it to flow through me, but I'd like the poem to be 500 words, right? It's like you're using that method to at least put some parameters around it, so that once you get that moment where you get gifted with the knowledge as it seems to channel through you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a reason why the message becomes very clear at that time.
Totally.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah. So, and these are all like amazing things to keep in mind when we are doing our vision boards, however it is that we do them, right? Is like what we're going to be doing kind of with them. And that's all part of the process. So yeah. And, you know, I've probably personally just like thinking about vision boards and kind of like moving into that, because we probably have more like 10 minutes now because we started a little late, but in terms of actually doing a vision board, like we're talking about doing, I can't remember the last time I did one for myself, right? Like a board of an actual vision board. I spent a lot of time doing vision boards for other people in my line of work and other things like that, and doing, we call mood boards or all these different things where to aid in, you know, like being able to translate or create for someone else, which is how I spent a good deal of the first half of my life. Was doing that, and but doing one for myself, and to sort of talk about vision boards for a second too, is that actually Leslie and I have two very different ways of doing of thinking about doing them, actually, like the creation of them, and it kind of goes along with, Danny, I know you were talking about writing, and Leslie's a writer, like in terms of physically writing. I've just never picked up the habit of actually writing with a pen, right? And this is weird for someone like me who's been an artist and a designer for almost my whole life. I actually much prefer to type, right? And I love to have like more to draw from. And so like I'm going to be creating my vision board actually. And is that cool? I'll start with like how I'm going to do mine, because like, we both have two different ways we're going to do them. And
that was my question I was going to ask you.
Right. Mine is like, I'm going to be doing mine. I might do mine actually with my own design software, actually, because I'm used to be and still am a professional designer. So I have software that I can do, but I was looking it up because for people that think like me, but maybe don't have access to the like professional stuff, Canva, right, which is free, has a vision board template, right?
I saw that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So you can grab, you know, stuff from the internet, you know, because some people maybe don't still keep a lot of paper around or magazines or things like that. There's a beautiful, amazing tactile quality to doing that I love and appreciate. But I think for myself, because I'm a little bit more comfortable in that realm and maybe wanting to pull more stuff, like I'm going to do mine that way. So, and I think, Leslie is and as the hand writer and the person who's a little bit more hands-on, you can kind of like talk about how you might do yours. She's got some stuff.
I went and bought like a bunch of magazines. I have like a yoga magazine. I have a West Virginia catalog, travel and leisure, and then another bicycling. So I am really excited. Yeah, and I think that one just kind of got in here.
Oh, okay. There could be some good stuff.
Accident. I doubt it. I doubt the Atlantic will have many vision boards, but maybe. So I'm excited to go through and cut out photos and like just words, I think, and like make a collage of some kind. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do it on some, I think in my mind, I'd like to have some kind of like thicker surface, like maybe cardboard or something. But I haven't decided how I'm going to do that yet. So that's like what comes to me. But like, as you're talking about Canva and they have a template, that actually sounds kind of appealing too. So
I'll show you what I have.
Yes, please.
And while you're doing that, Danny, we also I encourage people too to think about, you can get images from the internet, you can get images like from magazines or books or anything like that. Oh Lord. But you also, I would encourage people to think about looking around and maybe actually using your phone, using your phones or a camera to take your own pictures, and maybe like print them out or do something with them like that. And don't be afraid too, if you have the artistic talent or the ability to do it, even if you don't, like, it doesn't matter whether you do, to write on it or draw on it, or if you can't find an image or whatever, use words, use color, use anything. That the important thing here is to create something, right, that you can go back to, that you can look at, that reminds you of how you want to feel, what you want to create, what you want to manifest in a way that like brings it alive for you and makes you excited to look at it and to touch it, look at it and show it to other people and talk about it and bring it together. So like, you can pull from different places, but also you can generate your own. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, tell us about that, Danny. This is great.
Oh, this guy?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Dollar store. Look at how thick it is.
Yeah, that is super thick.
Stuff.
I love it.
You can do a puzzle on this one.
Oh my gosh.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I was ready. So I made one probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Which I still have, by the way, and I open it up once in a while to see.
That's amazing.
How many things I've done on it. Some of it I noticed I must have ripped off. I don't want that anymore.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's great.
But I actually went to an in-person workshop probably about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, probably a year ago. It was definitely during, it was probably in 21.
Yeah.
And so a year and a half ago. And there was an artist that held it, and same thing. They had stacks of magazines. I brought all my own stuff with me. I had stacks of magazines and clippings and all sorts of things, right? And so I started making it, but I never glued anything on it. I just got through the phase where I was cutting things, because that takes time.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually do that part of it, because you're looking and deciding, what do you want to put on it? Some people can do them very quickly.
Yeah.
We'll find, let's say they put on here, I don't know, 10 things. If you only put in 10 things, that's simple.
Yeah.
But then you have people who are like very abundant with what they want, right? And they cover every single inch of this board. You won't even see this holographic.
And why would you not want to see that?
Yeah. So I have a boatload of magazines over here.
Awesome.
And my glue sticks, and I even saved, I'll show you this, like I had one of those calendars that like sits on your desk.
Yeah.
And one of them was the Louise Hay calendar, so like they're like little sayings.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So like I am capable, efficient, and organized. I have ample skills to get the job done, right? Like things like that. And then there was another one by the Jen Sincero, who does
we're
badass. So I had two. One was in the kitchen, one was in my office. So it says, Rich, able to afford all things and experiences required to fully experience your most authentic life.
I love that.
Like as I went through the calendar, I pulled pages, or some of them I already cut, you know what I mean? And so I figured, when the time came and I was ready to do this project again, I was gonna. I have everything sitting.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was so excited when you said you were having this.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, because I'm doing a workshop in person on January 30th with a team of people. There's like 25 people that are registered to show up.
That's wonderful.
To do this.
And so I need to come with my sample.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
no, and that's great. Like that's what I was gonna say. I'm thinking like we need to kind of jump back on and kind of like share somehow, you know,
Yeah.
like and if when other people watch this on YouTube or through our elemental community, if they weren't able to make it tonight and they create something on their own, we'll have to stay tuned for a way that we'll figure
Yeah.
out like when to reconvene to kind of maybe share
Yeah.
what we've done.
And we're also, I guess, one of the final things we wanted to talk about, and which is about vision boards in a sense too, is that we are going to host, and I know, Danny, that you know about this already because you've so graciously said that you'll be a part with the sound healing. But we're doing a renewal retreat on March 10th and 11th, where part of it will be making vision boards. And so I know we're going to take this energy from here and start to create something and see what flows, and then even maybe like edit the ones that we have, but we'll be doing, that'll be a part of the experience for that retreat. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, is that one in New Harmony or is that in North Carolina?
It's virtual.
It'll be
virtual.
our first virtual retreat we're gonna take our mission is to create safe spaces of transformation through courageous conversation, and like we're bringing that safe space of the retreat to the virtual space. So we're excited to bring that in and bring a bunch of people that we know that are doing a lot of different things and
that are doing what they love and creating safe spaces for people and transformation with people. So we'll have a variety. We'll be doing some speaking, and then we have other people that'll be speaking and providing experiences, and then we'll have basically worksheets and guides for the times that we're not like live on camera for people to go and do like workouts or cook or anything else that kind of flows within the day, and we'll have some structure to that. So yeah,
I love that. If I wasn't at a expo with a booth and a table and speaking, I would be all in for that.
Yeah. We'll love to get your input on that and your skills and healing energy involved however we can. So yeah, and
I'm happy to help. So that's a Friday and a Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're setting up Friday, and then we're executing 11 and 12. So you're right in the middle.
Yeah.
If anything changes and I wind up like taking the bulls on the plane for some reason, I will let you know.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. We'll wait and see how that works out. Yeah.
We'll create the file first, and then who knows? There might be like okay, we can make this work.
Yeah.
For another time.
Yeah. Well, I can't help but think right now, just how we've sort of like this vision mastermind, right? Sort of is this very meta thing where it became, it kind of followed everything that we talked about, right? So we just totally, our intent was to create a space, to present about and to talk about vision. And normally when we do this, right, if we have several people in the lineup, it's a chat only thing, and we just kind of do our thing. And Danny, we love you so much. This turned into such a great, like, unexpected conversation. Right. And our goal is just to serve and to bring these things, and we're so grateful for you to have been here and to shared in that with us. And and to anyone who watches this, just hearing your perspective from your voice and what you're doing is such a great thing. So this is just another example of when you focus on the bigger picture and allow things to emerge, what happens. And this is just a beautiful example of that. And we're so grateful for you to be here and to have seen this kind of emerge and come together in conversation for our community.
My pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Always a blessing.
We feel this.
All right. So we will, so we're on our own making our vision boards, and then we'll reconvene once they're made, correct?
Yeah, we'll set a time. We'll set a time. We'll get together and set up a time, and then we'll give others a chance to view this in the next coming days, and then we'll find a time that works, and we'll maybe reconvene and see what we all come up with.
Done. Done and dusted.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny.
Danny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you to everyone who watches
Love
this.
you both.
Yeah, thank you so much. We love you.
Bye.
All right, bye.